I used to think, oh, I'm not going to do this because so and so will think that. I don't think that anymore. I now believe that, if I'm giving an opportunity, it's because I deserve the right to be there. Or if I'm at an event and I'm sitting at a special table, it's because I've done what I needed to do to get that place there.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. Today's guest is my beautiful friend, and she founded Mothers in Business. She is a property investor, she is an author, she is a fantastic speaker, and she is the regional director of the Global Woman Accra in Ghana. But as I said before, she's my beautiful friend. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Linda Attram.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the invitation. Really excited to have a conversation with you today.
Yes, and I'm sure we're going to have lots to talk about, because I think you were a little bit worried that we don't have anything to talk about, but we do. I have a lot of questions because you have always sort of fascinated me as a very happy, bubbly person. And I think that you worked on that. You were not always that from the beginning, because I also know that you were talking about it sometimes. But talking a little bit about travel, because it's a travel podcast at the end of the day. Did you travel as a child?
As a child, I traveled very little. And that was because I came from very humble beginnings. So my mum and dad, they're part of the Windrush generation. They came over on the boat from the Caribbean island of Grenada in the 50s. And they had nothing. They just came with their suitcases. They had no family here whatsoever. And for my mum, it was her very first time traveling outside of the Caribbean. And she was the eldest of 16 children.
Oh,
so
my God.
she left all of her siblings behind and came, to big London, to start a new life with my dad. They were newly married. And so they had to make ends meet. They were renting a property. Well, actually, not even a property. They rented a room. And I'm the youngest of 4 girls. And so at one point, we were all living together, all 6 of us, in one room. It was shared accommodation. So, that just kind of reflects the sort of humble beginnings that we had, shared bathrooms, things like that. And so my mum, because she was the eldest of 16, she didn't really have much education because she was helping my grandma with the other children. So consequently, when she came to the UK, she didn't have any sort of formal qualifications of anything to do. So she started doing cleaning work. My dad was a porter in a hospital, later on in London Transport. And so they were always, making ends meet. So there wasn't that excess amount of money there to take us on holiday, especially having 4 girls. So whenever we did travel, it was a really big thing. It was a big thing for us to go to Grenada. And when we went, we would go for like 6 weeks at a time, because my mum and dad would have to save up so much money. We'd literally go like every 5 years or something like that, but we'd go for a long period of time. And then as things got better later down the line, we started doing lots of trips around Europe, because one of my aunts, who also traveled in from Grenada, she was part of this like church group, and we would travel around we went to Switzerland, we went to Austria, getting to know Europe quite a bit. But it was my travels really as a child were mainly around Europe and Grenada.
Wow, that I did not know. 16 children, Linda. Can you imagine having 16 children? Wow. You said something that I have never heard before. Windrush generation. Is that what they were? Why?
So there was a boat, a ship called Windrush. And so at that time in the 50s, there was like a campaign to bring people from the Caribbean to the UK to work, and to give them, opportunities to live here and to work here, because there was opportunities over here, whether that be in nursing or some sort of industry. And so you would apply, and if you were fortunate enough to get in, you come along to the UK, but via the boat. You didn't come on an aeroplane or anything like that. So it took like 2 to 3 weeks. And, you know, for my mum, she'd never traveled out of Grenada in her life. Then to go onto this big ship, you know, I remember her telling me all the stories about feeling seasick and having to make friends, and, you know, how she felt leaving all of her siblings behind. And also she had 2 children, 2 boys before me and my sisters. And they unfortunately passed away. So she had to leave her children behind as well. And like I said earlier, you know, they had to make ends meet. And one of her children, one of her sons, he passed away when she was over here in the UK, but she didn't have enough money to go back to his funeral. So my grandma had to take care of that.
These stories are heartbreaking, and that's why so Windrush was the name of a boat. And, you know, I see that here, because here in Cyprus, we have a lot of those people coming to work from the Philippines or from Sri Lanka, and they leave their kids behind, and they come here to, you know, for a better life, and they send money home. And that's what happened at the time with the people from the Caribbean who came to England. That is amazing and admirable. And I totally understand. I mean, it must have been funny though for you to go back. Did you fly when you went back to Grenada then? Did your parents save money so you could go on a plane?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So at the time, I think it was BWIA, British West Indian Airlines. Mm-hmm. They didn't go straight to Grenada because we didn't have an international airport at the time. So we had to fly directly to Barbados, first of all. And then we had to get a little plane called a Liat plane, which was sort of I think it took about 20 people. And you literally could see the pilot at the front and hear all the engine chuttering away. And so, yeah, that was interesting experience, because it was like, it wasn't a straightforward journey, because once you got to Barbados, it was like we were on standby, and, you know, you wouldn't always get on the flight. And my mum would have the challenge of making sure that we all got on the flight together at the same time. So we just let her do her thing. But it was, great memories. And it taught me a lot in terms of valuing money, valuing the opportunity to travel. Because I remember when I was at school, like a lot of my friends, they would always be traveling off to Spain or wherever every summer. And I was thinking, well, how come they can afford to go away every year, and we have to like save up for years and years and years? Because obviously I didn't have any concept of money. I didn't understand it. And I didn't know how much the flights cost. I just thought it was just the way that my mum and dad were, they weren't that interested in traveling, but not realizing the hardship and the the amount of work they had to do in order to get us out there.
Amazing. I mean, I grew up very similar. We were poor. It's a different story, but I went on a plane for the first time when I was 16, because I had actually started working, and I had collected, bought money together to buy a ticket to London. That was my first flight. So,
right.
I totally agree with you that you do appreciate the value of money, and you are also grateful for everything that comes afterwards, because you know that. And later on, you realize how hard your parents must have worked to get you out there every time.
100%. And also what was great about it was, if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have got to know half of my family, because like I said, eldest is 16. I've got loads of cousins and aunties out in the Caribbean, and had my parents not made that sacrifice to save up the money for us to go out there, I wouldn't have known them. And so I'm grateful that I now go to Grenada regularly, and I can send my children as well, so that they can get to know their family out there.
What do you feel when you go to Grenada? Do you feel that, I mean, this is your heritage. This is where your parents came from, but you were born in the UK. I mean, so obviously your home is the United Kingdom. What's your feeling for Grenada?
I absolutely love it, because I feel completely blessed that I have the opportunity to go out there. I have it as my second home. It's a beautiful, beautiful island. And because both of my parents have passed away, now when I go there, I feel a much deeper connection there, because I not only just go there to enjoy the island, but I also go there to connect with those special memories that we created, but I don't have the opportunity to create any more with them.
Mm.
So, when I sit in our home, I remember times when I, be sitting in the veranda with my mum, the times we go to the beach and things like that. And also when I talk to some of my my aunts and my uncles, I see my mum in them as well. So it's a much deeper connection for me when I'm there. And because my kids as well, they used to go from when they were small, they've got memories of grandma as well. So I'm glad that I took that step to bring them out to the Caribbean when they were young.
Beautiful. And you feel like you have to continue your parents' legacy, and you have to, it's like stay seeing the relatives and, just keeping it going. And it's interesting because my kids were born in Cyprus. Your kids were born. Okay, you're more on the level of my kids, but my kids have a strong relationship with Switzerland. So like you have a strong. There's something there. I think we just have two homes when we are like that.
Yeah. Well, for my children, they're even more blessed than me because they also have Ghana as well.
Yeah, that's the next. That's you don't get ahead of yourself, Linda. But because I know that you are married to a lovely man who I also know from the business, because he's a motivation. What is he? A trainer? He's a trainer, a motivational speaker.
He's a business consultant and a business speaker. A lot of people, because of the way that he delivers, his talks. A lot of people think that he's a motivational speaker, but he's not. That's not what he's classified as.
That's just part of the work, because he speaks very motivationally.
Yeah, perhaps he inspires a lot of people. But yeah, he is a business speaker and consultant. Yeah.
Okay, and he is from Ghana. He's from Accra.
Yes. That's right. Yeah,
but he was born in the UK as well.
No, he wasn't. He was born in Accra.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
he was born in Accra, and he came to the UK when he was 9.
Okay. So his connection to Africa is probably even stronger or a little different to yours, because he must have childhood memories from there.
Of course. Yeah. That was his home for the first 9 years of his life. And so when he came to the UK, he had to start afresh, as a 9-year-old, a new country, new home, getting used to, different surroundings and seeing different types of people that he wouldn't have seen back home. So, yeah, his experience would have been much, much different. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you go to Ghana? Do you go regularly?
Yes, we do, as a family. Yeah. We haven't been since the lockdown. But we made a conscious effort, both myself and Mac, to make sure that our kids have experiences of both, both the Caribbean and of Ghana, so that they can get to know their families out there. They can get to know the history as well, because, I don't know if you know much about Caribbeans and Africans, and I don't know if this is going to be another question you're going to ask me later on.
No, it's not. Go ahead, because I wasn't. Okay. I don't know that. You see, this is why I love my podcast, because I find out things that I didn't know before. So tell me about the Caribbeans and the Africans.
Yeah. So in the 70s and perhaps before, there was a lot of prejudice between Africans and Caribbeans. And so, as growing up as a child, my mum and my dad would say, if you're ever going to get married, you don't get married to a Rastafarian or an African. And that was like really strange. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. And but it was just because of the conditioning, I think, that both cultures had about where they came from, because in school you're not necessarily taught the full story about slavery, for example, that started in Africa. And for a lot of Caribbeans, we were uneducated, so we didn't know that our ancestors were from Africa. So there was a lot of this unrest between the two cultures, and they would not necessarily get on that well together. And so our kids are fortunate that they didn't experience that, but they can now see the two cultures together, and obviously we're married, and so we can blend our cultures together, and they can get to have that positive experience, as opposed to when I was growing up, it was quite negative between the two cultures. When I started dating Mac, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what are my parents going to think?
That was going to be my next question. What did your parents say when you brought home this African man?
Well, it was so weird. I had nothing to worry about, because although that's what they were saying when I was younger, I think it was more of, from their point of view, it's more sort of guidance, not sort of a strict rule, because clearly if it was a strict rule, like I broke the rule, several times over, because my previous partner to Mac, he was also from Africa as well, but they absolutely adored Mac. They treated him like a son, and there were no issues whatsoever between our families. We just blended together really, really well. And consequently, even my parents, they divorced after 36 years. And then my dad remarried, and he actually married a Ghanaian lady. So it's all, it's all swings and roundabouts. My parents, although we had a very strict upbringing, there were rules in the house that you had to follow, but they were also fairly open-minded. They would support our decisions. It wasn't a case of you do as I say and don't do as I do type thing. So with Mac, they absolutely adored him. Yeah.
Fascinating. That is such a great mixture when you look at this, at you guys and your beautiful kids. I mean, and you look, you look happy together. You look so you blend well. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
And but what I wanted to ask you, because you're not today's generation, did you experience racism?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
You did.
Absolutely. And it took me a long time to find my place, because of the experiences that I had, I felt that I had this place that was down there, and I wasn't allowed to elevate myself because of the types of experiences I had, and people that looked like me weren't necessarily at other levels that I thought that I could achieve. So, for example, the school that I went to was an urban school in London, but the expectation of people that looked like me was that you would either get a very low paid job or you go into a life of crime. There was no option of university whatsoever. That wasn't even on the cards. You go to college for a couple of years, and then you get a job, and then you just find your way. And entrepreneurship definitely wasn't something that was common. There weren't many role models around for us to aspire to. And certainly in the school that I went to just give you an example of how rough it was, our head teacher got murdered outside of the school gates through gang fighting. So it was that type of school. So, you kind of make decisions in school based on what your surroundings are. Mm-hmm. and the people that you see. And if you don't see people to aspire to, then you don't necessarily have those big aspirations. And then when you have other people that, treat you differently because of your race, that then, well, for me, it had an impact on my self-belief and my confidence, as well as other things contributed to my lack of confidence. But when I hear the stories that my parents went through in terms of racism, I had it a lot easier. Mm-hmm. And my children have experienced it, but nothing to the degree that I did. When my parents came over in the 50s, when they tried to get accommodation, it was like no blacks, no Irish, and no dogs. They'd literally put these signs up on the door.
Yeah.
And then they'd be going knocking from house to house trying to get accommodation and all that kind of stuff. I've experienced racism with my children before. We've been out shopping and somebody said something really rude, and I've just gone into them, and my kids were like really shocked because they'd not seen anything like that before. And then that opens up that conversation for them that the world isn't as pretty as you think it is. There are some beautiful people in the world, and there are some people that have some very narrow-minded views. But there's different types of racism, and there's also prejudice as well. Because when I go to Ghana, for example, like when we went the last time, we went on this tour for a month. We went all around Ghana. And when we were paying to go to different events, like touristic places, my husband will say, 2 adults and 3 kids. And they would charge my husband and my children the local price, and they charge me the tourist price, which would be like 3 times everyone else's price. And I'm like, but why is that? Like, in this day and age, why would you still do that? The kids wouldn't be there if it wasn't for me. And those types of things, at the time gets quite frustrating, because I think, why am I being singled out? And I shouldn't be singled out, because I'm their mother, I'm your wife. But we're still in the 20th century, and I'm being treated like this. But it's not because I'm because I suppose because I look different and I sound different, so I don't even open my mouth when I'm out there when it comes to paying for things, because they'll just charge me 3 times the price of everyone else. But it's just interesting. But it's all character building as you go around to different countries and things like that. We've been on holiday before in Europe when the kids were younger, and where people are not used to seeing black people, and they see us, getting dressed up for dinner, and they're looking at us like we're aliens, like, wow, how can they afford to get dressed up for dinner? And I remember one time there was this lady, she went, oh, chocolate. And she started wanting to touch my kids' faces. And I really got quite annoyed. But then I realized it was because she wasn't being racist. She just wasn't used to seeing black people. It was something new for her. Because sometimes in certain countries, they have stereotypical images of what black people look like and what they do and what they can aspire to. So
absolutely. And I remember once in India, in the state of Orissa, where not so many tourists used to go. That's a long time ago when I was a tour guide. I was on a beach, and these kids all came to touch me because they wanted to touch white skin. You see, so it had nothing to do with any kind of race. They just wanted to feel if it feels the same way like their brown Indian skin.
Yeah.
So, but that's a long story. That's something we could talk about for hours. And you said something very interesting before. The world is not always nice. And I think it's really up to us. I always say I cannot change the world, but I can change my world. I can affect the people who are in my world. And if we all did that, then the world would be a better place. So, Linda, you were experiencing racism. You were going to a difficult school, a quite hopeless situation. What happened? How did you become this gorgeous, glamorous, successful lady?
I have no idea. It just happened. No. So basically, when I left school, I realized that, if I wanted to do something different, I always had this burning desire that I wanted to do something different. All of my sisters went into sort of admin secretarial roles, but I could see people around me doing other things. And I was just fascinated as to how they could do that. Why did I have to follow that path? Because that was what was expected of me, to go into secretarial admin work. And as I said before, I was very, very shy. So although I had those thoughts in my mind, I didn't have the mindset to do anything about it. So I followed that path, went into secretarial admin work, but within HR. And at that time, my boss saw something in me that I couldn't see for myself. And so she sponsored me to go to college in the evening and one afternoon a week to be able to get some more skills in human resources. And then they sponsored me to do a degree as well. And through that helped to build up my confidence, because when I first started work, and I think I've shared this with you before, my lack of confidence was so low that I wouldn't feel confident to have conversations with people. And I would go and make my lunch in the morning at home, and then I would go and eat it in the toilets because I was so scared, so petrified to even have a conversation. I was scared of being judged about what I would say, that I wouldn't say the right thing, that I wouldn't come across the right way. So I'd rather just not talk. But through my boss seeing something in me and sponsoring me to do these various programs, that helped to build up my confidence. And it exposed me to, and it forced me to have conversations with people working in human resources. And so as I kind of went through that process, I felt more self-worth within myself. I felt more confident in myself, started, going out more with friends, started dating. And yeah, it kind of started from there. But then as soon as I got married, had children, it started to revert back again into losing that confidence, because I felt that I was losing my identity through being a mum, as although I love being a mum and I love, that whole blessing. But something from me felt like it was being stripped away, constantly being called mum, 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 but Linda was no longer there. And because of my husband being in the self-development world, I was fortunate enough to be able to work on myself through programs that he would enable me to access, and through him being my coach and mentor as well. And so, yeah, I finally realized at very late in life that, it's not to waste time and years worrying about what other people think about you, and to, live your life on my own terms. And to, for what I went through my lack of confidence, I never want my children to go through that. I know they have to go through their own experiences to create their own characters and stuff like that. But any sort of experience I can give them to enable them to become their own individual person, that is my goal. So yeah, that's kind of how it all happened, really. And then I realized that, when opportunities knock for me, I used to think, oh, I'm not going to do this because so and so will think that. I don't think that anymore. I now believe that, if I'm giving an opportunity, it's because I deserve the right to be there. Or if I'm at an event and I'm sitting at a special table, it's because I've done what I needed to do to get that place there. And so I should just enjoy that moment, as opposed to worrying about what other people think, because once I'm gone, somebody else will just sit at the table.
Absolutely. But that is totally connected to self-worth,
Yeah.
because when you have enough self-worth, you understand that you deserve to be at a certain place. And that's what you were lacking at the time when things were different. But I am very happy about the person who recognized your potential in the company that you were working, and made sure, because that is as another thing that doesn't happen so often, is there are so many young people out there who have potential, but if they don't have anybody to help them, then sometimes, they get desperate. Patience is not exactly young people's virtue. So if, just saying to people who are listening to us, if you are a person who is in charge of young people, and if you recognize potential in them, help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because, mentorship wasn't something that was around when I was much younger. But, if you've got somebody to aspire to, you can talk to, you can bounce ideas off of, absolutely 100%. And I, all what I'm sharing with you now is, I also share that outside as well, to inspire people, and particularly women, that, feel that lack of confidence, that there is hope, there is a ray of light out there, and that they're not on their own.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you are sharing your story, because basically your bottom line is that if you could do it, then everybody can do it, because your situation wasn't easy. So you made something of what you had at the time. And the reason why you and I know each other is because of the Global Woman Club. Shout out to Mirella Sulla, who got us together. Yeah. And that's where, in your beautiful Ghana, Accra club, you empower women. And the slogan of the Global Woman Club is, if you want to empower a woman, give her a microphone and tell your story. And that's what you did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I've been part of Global Woman for the past 4 years, and, started off as a member, and then became a director about 2.5 years ago. And I just absolutely love the journey. I love the fact that I can meet different women all of the time from around the world that I would not normally connect with, giving the chance to lead a community as well, at the same time as inspire others, is just, it wasn't something that I had planned, but it's just turned out into a really great journey.
And it's fascinating to see that what you do with these women is what happened to you. Because when they come at the beginning, they're shy.
Yes.
Maybe they have a low self-esteem. And then they get sort of included. I think inclusion is also a good word when it comes to all these things. They understand that they are part of something, and they start feeling more comfortable. And that's when your self-worth goes up. And that's when you start feeling like, yeah, I've got something to say. Because they do have something to say, but sometimes they are just too shy, like you were.
Yeah. They don't know how to say it. They don't feel safe. And then it's about creating that environment where they feel safe and that they feel that they're not going to be judged. And then they come back and they come back again and again and again and just continue to build their confidence.
Right. So I'm looking at the time. We're not done yet, but you thought that you said to me, what are we going to talk about? We could still have a lot of things to talk about. You went to India recently. Had you been to India before?
No, first time. Went to India. Absolutely loved it. Very welcoming and warm country. So went out there with the family. We'd already previously gone to Grenada for about 3 weeks, came back to the UK for one night.
I saw you were like the whole summer on holidays. I noticed that on.
Yeah, so Mac was working out there, and he normally flies around the world doing different things, and we don't normally as a family go out with him, but we thought because it's summer, we'd tag it onto our holidays. It'd be nice for the kids to not only experience another country, which is one of our goals as well, making sure that our kids go and visit different cultures and have different experiences, but also they love watching their dad on stage as well. So it was part holiday, part observing him and just soaking in the culture. Yeah.
And I noticed that you ended up in a sari shop with Veronica Tam. And I saw this beautiful, I mean, you looked amazing in these saris. Did you, I think I already asked you, that I'm going to ask you now on the podcast. You took some home, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah. There was one for myself and both of my girls as well. And so that day we went out shopping with Veronica was a lot of fun. Tried on so many saris. And again, that was really educational for me because I didn't realize there was a difference between a sari and a custom made sari. And when I tried on the traditional sari, it was just cloth everywhere and like wrapped around me like so many times. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to remember how to pin this up and turn this and twist it around here. And so we ended up getting the custom made ones, which was like the red and the blue and the purple, I believe it was. And there was a big party at the end of the event, and we all got dressed up, and it was really, really lovely experience. It
looked beautiful. And just talking about other journeys, we were in Dubai together last year and had a great time there. And another thing that I really, really appreciated very much, you came to my Global Woman event in Cyprus. Did you enjoy Cyprus?
Oh my goodness, I loved Cyprus. I love Cyprus, and I definitely will be back again. And what I love about Cyprus is that it's just like 3 hours away from the UK, so you get there really, really quickly. And it's such a beautiful island, especially the part that we went to. And you were such a gracious host, and taking us around to all of those different sightseeing opportunities and all the food, all the food that we had.
Yeah, we eat a lot.
I've seen so much food in my life.
Yes, it's kind of it's a local thing. We like to eat. But Cyprus, Cyprus was a British colony. So people from the UK, we have a lot of tourists from the UK. And I have been living here for so long. I love Cyprus. And I always want whoever comes here, I want them to like it. That's why I show them around. I want everybody to leave Cyprus and have the wish to come back.
Yes. And you certainly did a fabulous job in hosting us there and looking after us. And we felt very, very welcome. I don't think there was nobody there that had any complaints whatsoever. I think everyone wanted to go back, and we created such special memories there. It was
very happy to hear that. You're always welcome. Yeah. I have another one last question. Are you going to take me to Grenada with you?
To Grenada? Of course. Yes. I would. We would have so much fun.
I would
We'd have so
love
much
to
fun
come to
there.
that. That would be probably an experience of a lifetime. We have to arrange that. We
Yeah,
are saying
definitely.
it publicly here on a podcast, so that is kind of that binds us to
It
do.
does. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll do a cruise, Elizabeth. We'll do a cruise around the Caribbean and stop off at different islands. That would be lovely.
Yes, let's do that, because we're coming
Yeah.
to the end of this podcast episode. I want to ask you one last question. You've done a lot of traveling. You've, as a child, maybe not so much, but you have been to different continents. You've been to what is your take on the world? When you see all these different people, what do we all have in common?
The majority of people have a smile and love in their hearts. And we're all very welcoming in terms of, people that are open-minded, that like to travel, like to experience different cultures, different traditions, have that beautiful smile, that welcoming culture about each other. And so long as, you do approach different cultures and traditions with that open mind, the world is a very beautiful place. And we can all learn from each other. It's not just about, going to another country because it's hot and sitting on the beach and getting a tan. It's about being in that environment, finding out about that history as well. And it's not just for yourself. You can share that with your friends, with your family. And that's what I love about traveling. I love being able to share those experiences and creating memories in those places as well. So, for example, we were talking about Cyprus, and I have a piece of Cyprus in my house that I go to every single day, because I remember you took us to we went I can't remember the exact tour, but we went into this little town
In
and it was
Omados.
quite possibly, and there was somebody that got married and there was a bakery and all that kind of stuff. And I went into one of these stores and I bought loads of spices because I love cooking. And so I've still got my spices from when I came to Cyprus last year, and I put this lovely salad herbs all over my salad every single day. So I've always got a piece of Cyprus in my house, which is beautiful. And it's just collecting those little memories. It doesn't have to be anything big or expensive. It's just, certain smells or, reviewing photos and things like that just bring you back to that place with those good memories.
Beautiful. Very, very beautifully said. I couldn't have ended this podcast episode better. Thank you so much for being my guest on Most Memorable Journeys, Linda Attram.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. Thank you.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.